2020 is officially a part of the past, one that won't be forgotten for many years to come. Sadly, the unfortunate event it brought isn't over, but I want to go into 2021 on a positive note. Therefore, I'm listing my personal top 5 favorite games of the year 2020. 20 brought some amazing games, and everyone is sure to find their favorite. While this list is made of my personal favorites, there's a chance your favorite won't be on here. This could be for many reasons, but at the end of the day, we all have a different list. So feel free to share yours and maybe bring me up to speed on some titles I've missed. Lastly, before we begin, I want to mention that ports and remasters will not be on this list. Games like Resident Evil 2, however, are okay. While it's a remake of an older game, it's still a new experience. Without further ado, here are my top 5 favorite games of 2020.
Number 5.
Bandai started the year off with a brand new Dragon Ball Z JRPG, developed by the same people behind the Naruto Storm series. I had high hopes for this new entry in the Dragon Ball franchise. You could argue that this entry is kind of cheating since I'm easily pleased with Dragon Ball games, but trust me, I can be very critical as well. Let's start with the positives. Graphically, the game looks fantastic, minus the weird Goku face every once in a while. All the key attacks and explosions look fantastic. Combat can be very simplistic but fun with enough challenge. The high energy over-the-top cutscenes are truly breathtaking, using all the right animation techniques to make them look the best they can. The soundtrack uses some tracks from the old Kikuchi soundtrack from the original anime, while the newer songs are mostly inspired by it. The English voice acting is fantastic, with Daman Mills' Frieza as a highlight. Once again, never disappoints to deliver amazing performances, close to Chris's Iris Frieza.
I am the greatest being in the universe, and that is why you must die by my hand! You fool! What?
The game does come with its shortcomings, however. Overall, the main story leaves much to be desired, with its low difficulty, missing moments from the manga, and lackluster boss battles. I had the most fun going out of my way to battle these strong post-game boss battles while being underleveled, making them challenging and high energy. The big boss battles are highlights, but at the same time feel samey due to them not really having a lot of outstanding qualities on their own. The DLC remedies this somewhat with more aggressive attack patterns. Lastly, this one is more Bandai's fault, but why did they add a card game with microtransactions? It's harmless, I know, but why add it to Kakarot when it's a better fit for a free-to-play standalone game for consoles, PC, and smartphones? I just don't get it. Despite these shortcomings, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, to me, felt like a love letter from Dragon Ball fans to Dragon Ball fans. I'm sure the developers had a lot more ideas they wanted to implement, but couldn't due to time restraints. If Bandai Namco gave CyberConnect 2 another shot with a lot of freedom and time, they could create an amazing Dragon Ball JRPG. Make one about the original Dragon Ball, about Super, GT. Give CyberConnect 2 another shot at a Dragon Ball game. We know they can create amazing anime games thanks to the Naruto Storm games. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot deserves a spot on my list for being a game with an amazing amount of potential, despite it falling short. Currently, the DLC doesn't fix any of the game's problems, but we got one more package coming up. I'm curious to see what that could be. I can't wait to see what we get next.
Number 4.
Who thought it was a good idea to release a game on a Monday? Genshin Impact, despite not having spent a lot of time with the game as of late, is an amazing game that's, get this, free to play. You might recognize this game as the game that was inspired by The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which the developers admit, which isn't wrong by the way. I'd even say it's a good thing. The caveat of it being free to play is that it's a gacha game. According to Wikipedia, gacha games are video games that implement toy vending machine mechanics. Similar to loot boxes, gacha games induce players to spend in-game currency to receive a random virtual item. This is understandably to some a huge turnoff, but MiHoJo somehow made it so that you can experience the whole game while ignoring the gacha elements. There are some characters you simply unlock by playing the game, and the game rewards you with enough in-game currency to give you enough chances to pull at least a few characters. And somehow they made back all their development cost within 2 weeks. What's most important now is the game itself. The game has its own world and story filled with characters to collect. Besides exploring, you'll partake in a lot of combat. Combat is element-based where mixing certain elements can create explosive results. I like how you can demo a lot of the characters in a battle arena where you can experiment with their elemental power. I, myself, just play with the characters I like, but some combinations create amazing results. Besides that, combat is pretty simple in my opinion. I do have to confess that I haven't put as much time into the game as I'd hoped, nor have I experienced the multiplayer, but the time I did put into the game has been amazing. The game is also playable on your phone or tablet, and your PC save file gets carried over. I'm not a big fan of playing these kind of games on my phone, so I'm just waiting for the Switch version. I should find some time to complete the story. I've been mostly focusing on exploring and daily quests. Give this game a shot. I'd argue that this is the best gacha-esque game out there.
Number 3.
I swear, this is the last Breath of the Wild inspired game on the list. When it comes to Ubisoft games, it's either a hit, or in most cases, a
miss.
The last time I enjoyed a Ubisoft game was Mario and Rabbids on the Nintendo Switch. I keep trying, but they're just boring to me. But I have a feeling that Immortals Fenyx Rising is one I'll play through the end. I've been really enjoying this game on the Xbox Series X. Despite some tearing when the resolution scaling hits, it's a fantastic version of the game. The story is all about Greek mythology, with Prometheus narrating the whole story. Typhon has been released and Zeus wants to stop him, but he wants Prometheus' help. But Prometheus made a bet with Zeus where he tells the story about Fenyx, the character you play. The reason why I bring this up is that the writing for the narration is fantastic. Having fun dialogues between Zeus and Prometheus is so fun, and I always have a problem with Ubisoft's writing in-game. Watch Dogs Legion, another Ubisoft game that was released this year, had painfully cringy writing.
We have a sophisticated system for hiding your identity from facial recognition tech. It's called a mask. And while we're here, perhaps we can talk about updating your wardrobe. I mean, look at you. Come on.
Shut up.
While some moments were less enjoyable, Prometheus and Zeus's banter was always fun to listen to.
And with that, Hermes disappeared. Phoenix gazed across the narrow band of sea at the peaks and valleys of the Golden Isle ahead. The long path to her true destiny lay stretched out before her.
Wait, that was just the prologue? How does it take someone that long to begin a story? Odysseus made it home faster.
She's about to jump. Be quiet and listen.
Bye-bye, mortal.
One thing Fenyx Rising does better than Genshin Impact is the design of the world. Just like Breath of the Wild, I have these moments where I just divert my path to go explore. You can still mark all the spots on a map by using a search feature, but there were still enough times where I just went exploring. Combat in Fenyx Rising is similar to the latest Assassin's Creed games, which were arguably the best part about the newer AC titles. You can perfect dodge enemies, parry their attacks, punish them with special skills. I love how they try to give this game a lot more character. That's something that I always felt lacking in the Assassin's Creed games. There are these short animation clips when you upgrade your equipment. They're not outstanding, but I really appreciate the effort. Congrats Ubisoft, this game is a win.
Number 2.
何が何でもこれでゴールするんだタイガーショットだイーグルショットスライダースローシュートだドライブシュートだ
This might be my biggest surprise of 2020. Me, someone who has no interest in football at all, ended up buying this game for reasons I'll get to in a bit. Me, not having any idea what Captain Tsubasa is. Here I am with Captain Tsubasa, Rise of New Champions, being one of my favorite games of 2020. This game single-handedly made me a fan of the series. Rise of New Champions is a football game all about anime-styled super shots, dribbles, and over-the-top goalkeepers. Rise of New Champions tries to tell the second half of the 2018 anime in episode Tsubasa and lets you create your own character and new hero, while you'll be aiming for the Youth World Cup. I love the over-the-top football moves, coupled with the fact you can't get penalized for playing rough. It's the kind of football experience I've been waiting for since the Mario football games on the GameCube and Wii. I was kind of sold after watching some gameplay videos, but I initially wanted to play this game because of the inclusion of a Dutch team. Meet the Netherlands Junior Youth team, everyone! Some fantastic Dutch representation in my anime game. Wilhelmus van Nassau ben ik van Duitsen bloed. その通りそしてここで全ての力を込めて強烈な本気だスティンガーだフリーマン君このボールに立ちはだかるアートブロックを粉砕よし
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
The story mode plays out like a visual novel with matches in between, which might turn off some people. But the story mode is an amazing experience with in-game cutscenes that play when you meet the requirements. While the visual novel style cutscenes are a bit static, they tell the same story as the anime. There are also different scenes depending on how you play. Depending on if you're in the lead, tied, or losing, there's a different dialogue between each match. The attention to detail is amazing. This game is a giant love letter to the Captain Tsubasa fans. Neo Hero lets you create your own character and choose one of the 4 schools to start from, each with their own story until the World Championship arc, where you go to America to become the best youth team in the world. This mode is meant to be replayed over and over again, so you can create the best build for your custom character, so you can eventually create your own team. I've had an amazing experience playing through this mode after initially skipping the cutscenes in episode Tsubasa. I created my own character, named it after myself, and I started playing. While playing, you can train with other characters and learn their moves and skills. I primarily tried to befriend Brian Clifford, as he's a Dutch boy like me. Sadly, quality control for this game has been kind of a mess. The PC version especially. While the PS4 version is fine, the PC version is riddled with bugs and performance issues. Not to mention the Switch version, which runs pretty terribly too. While the developers have shown us that they want to fix all the problems, sadly one of the patches brought more problems with it than it solved. I've been having performance issues where the game wouldn't hit 60 FPS for some reason. While these problems are currently absent on my PC, others are still experiencing issues, and unlocking the frame rate basically breaks the game in half.
And now, Pierre's super shot at an unlocked frame rate with Ed, Ed and Eddie sound effects.
Hey!
At its current state, I can't recommend the game for PC or Switch players. If you're willing to put up with the game's problems, then go for it. Captain Tsubasa was an amazing experience, and I'll be playing it for years to come. If I had to give a TLDR version of my experience with Captain Tsubasa, minus the bugs, it would be this. Captain Tsubasa Rise of New Champions gave me the same feeling Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 did over a decade ago. And Tenkaichi 3 transformed me into the Dragon Ball fan I am today. That says a lot.
Honorable mentions.
I'll kill you!
Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. This game had to be mentioned somehow. The Definitive Edition is the original Wii game with a lot of amazing quality of life improvements, better graphics, and some extras added in. The main game was an amazing experience from start to finish. I found the combat to be super fun. The story might be one of the best stories I've ever experienced, with an amazing cast of characters and an amazing setting. The fact that you're exploring a giant with these amazing views, it gives me goosebumps. The Definitive Edition also came with extra content in the form of an extra story called Future Connected. Future Connected plays after the main story of the game, and it's a nice extra. It's nothing special, but you can easily clock another 10 hours thanks to this mode. All in all, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is an amazing package of an amazing game. I honestly prefer Xenoblade 2 over this one, but time will tell. I'm probably replaying this one when this video releases. Persona 5 Royal. Persona 5 would have been on my 2017 Game of the Year list if I took the time to make one, and Royal just had to be mentioned. Royal is an expansion rather than a new game, but it's still worth every penny. New characters, more content, quality of life improvements, 4K on PS4 Pro, and much more. I'm 70 hours in, so I've yet to finish it, but I'm always having a blast every time I pick up this game again. Cyberpunk 2077. If I could describe Cyberpunk 2077 in one word, it would be sadness. Such an amazing and beautiful crafted game, botched by its launch. I'm not one of the people that have been looking forward to this game for years, but it still makes me sad that this game gets such a disastrous launch. From what I've played, I've been stunned by the visuals, amazed by the gameplay, and blown away by its story. Keanu didn't lie, this game is breathtaking. It's just sad that unless you own a high-end computer, your experience will be subpar. This game should have been on my 2021 list, but here we are. But something that's not botched is... Crash Bandicoot, It's About Time. With having one of the best titles to have been ever conceived by the human mind, Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time is something Crash fans have been wishing for years. I'm not a fan of the Bandicoot myself, but I can't help but to be super happy with how this game turned out. The animation, oh, the animation is so good! I can't wait to sink more time into this game. Wow! Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity might have been the biggest surprise of the year. I'll keep this short. I'm enjoying this game, but I haven't finished it yet. And it's also super fun to see two different types of warrior games to be released in the same year. One Piece Pirate Warriors 4 is another Warriors game by Koei Tecmo that was released this year. And it's one I've put plenty of hours into. Despite being both Warriors games, they both give different experience in my opinion. That's always fun to see. I'd like to give my last honorable mention to Kingdom Hearts 3 for finally becoming the game I hoped it would. While I enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3 for what it was, in the end I found the game to just be disappointing. The easy difficulty and lackluster story left me wondering if a final mix version could fix it. Well, a year after the release of the original game, the Remind DLC got released to the public together with some free updates. While the devs already did a great job patching the game to add critical mode, this new free update makes it complete. The free update gives Sora new abilities like a new finisher and 2 new Keyblades, that being Oathkeeper and Oblivion, complete with Keyblade transformations. Both these Keyblades improve the post-game content. Remind on the other hand gave us more story and the return of data battles. While the Remind story fixes some if not most of the problems I had with the story towards the end, all in all it's nothing amazing. We finally get to explore Scala at Kylum a little. Thank God. On top of that, we get the option to play as Riku, Roxas, Aqua and Kairi in their respective boss battles. It would have been amazing if you could replay the entire game as these characters, but I guess that's asking for too much. The data battles on the other hand are amazing. Some of the best bosses I've ever experienced. I'd argue these battles are better than the Kingdom Hearts 2 data battles. In total, you get to fight all 13 bosses with 2 locked until you've beaten the others. The bosses are extremely varied too, each having their own patterns and strategies. Some are easier for defensive players, while some are easier for people who love to counter. Personally, I'm really good with young Xehanort, Xemnas and Sigbar, while with some others... The best boss has to be the secret boss, but I won't be showing him though. I don't want to spoil it. Just know it might be the best boss I've ever fought. He's extremely hard and I keep losing, but he's a ton of fun. That counts for all of them. They're hard, you'll die a lot, but they're a ton of fun. I couldn't put the game down thanks to the new DLC. And without further ado, it's time to present my favorite game of 2020.
Number 1.
My experience with Final Fantasy is quite new. The first Final Fantasy I've ever beaten was Final Fantasy 15 back on my original PlayStation 4, and it's still one of the few I've ever beaten. One of the games I've never fully played was Final Fantasy VII on the original PlayStation. Hearing that this critically acclaimed JRPG will be getting a new remake for the newest generation of consoles made even me excited. It was around the time I wasn't really into turn-based JRPGs. Seeing this new action-based spin on the Final Fantasy formula made me interested. Admittedly, I only decided to buy this game shortly before release. And being blown away by the game's graphics and cinematography is an understatement. The soundtrack and voice performances just completes this package as a visual and auditory marvel. The game got a new cast of English voice actors, and while David Hayters has a special place in my heart,
I'll get him. This time, we settle it. Me and the one who embodies all the darkness in me.
I don't necessarily miss it. Cody Christian as Cloud sounds similar to Hayter's version, yet he captures the serious and socially awkward guy perfectly. If you want to dive deeper into recasts for video games, you can watch Cartoon Cipher's video on why do voice actors get recast. Personally, I found the performance to be one of the best in a Japanese RPG. Even when we're playing the game, I found myself not skipping any of the cutscenes. The cutscenes can be movie-grade, high-energy cutscenes with lighting that just makes everything pop, perfectly transitioning into gameplay just like in Kingdom Hearts. Gameplay-wise, this game takes cues from both action RPGs and turn-based RPGs. While you're free to move in this 3D battlefield, you can slow the gameplay down to almost a full stop with a press of a button. This is where you select commands, use items, summon allies, and use magic. This gives the game this balance between real-time combat and turn-based strategies. You can also use a quick menu to perform most aforementioned options, just like in Kingdom Hearts. But I abandoned this option real quick. I found it was more fun to just take a breather, think, and strategize my next move to take the upper hand in battle. Taking advantage of your enemy's weakness is key to winning a battle. Sure, mashing a button gives you results, but this game is not a hack and slash. There were times I felt frustrated with certain enemy types, but that's just standard JRPG protocol at this point. During combat you can also switch between your party members. You can also order them to do certain commands while controlling another character. Have I mentioned that this game basically runs at a 30 frames per second lock? At all times? Never, ever have I experienced a frame drop on my PS4 Pro. This is just amazing. This game is so well optimized, it genuinely puts a smile on my face. They achieved all that while looking like a CGI movie. The game does have a problem with loading world textures though. This problem is mostly solved on the PS5 thanks to the SSD. I kind of want a PS5 upgrade where the game either runs at a locked 4K resolution or at 60 FPS. I also love to see this game ported to other platforms. But Square Enix being Square Enix doing Square Enix things, that's just wishful thinking, I suppose. And that's that. Thank you all for watching! I want to give a special shout out to my boy Jin for speaking some words for me. He was the one saying the numbers. Please support him. He deserves your attention. Click on the screen or check the description.